100 Years of Solitude, Gabriel García Márquez, 1967. Background. The story of 100 Years of Solitude begins not in the pages of a book, but in the humid air of Gabriel García Márquez's childhood, in the small Colombian town of Aracataca, where the author spent his early years listening to his grandmother's ghost stories and his grandfather's war recollections. The foundations of Macondo were laid. Márquez would later say that his grandmother told tales of the supernatural with the same matter-of-fact tone as she described the weather, a style that would blossom into the magical realism defining his masterpiece. When Márquez sat down to write the novel in 1965, he was a journalist in self-imposed exile, living in Mexico City and struggling to capture the essence of Latin America's turbulent soul. He locked himself away for 18 months, chain-smoking as he channeled a century of family sagas, political upheavals, and collective myths into a single narrative. The result was a book that would become a mirror held up to the continent's history, reflecting not just events, but the way memory distorts and redeems them. Macondo itself emerges from this alchemy of memory and invention. Its founding mirrors the arrival of European settlers in the Americas. José Arcadio Buendía and Úrsula Iguarán, fleeing guilt and gossip, carve a village out of the wilderness, only to see it corrupted by the very progress they once desired. The banana company that later exploits Macondo is a direct echo of the United Fruit Company, the American corporation whose influence over Latin America led to worker massacres and economic domination. The 1928 strike and subsequent killings of banana workers in Ciénaga, an event Márquez grew up hearing about, resurface in the novel as the erased massacre witnessed only by José Arcadio Segundo. But 100 Years of Solitude is more than a historical allegory. It's a reckoning with the way stories shape identity. The novel's structure, circular, repetitive, layered with prophecies, mirrors the oral traditions of Márquez's upbringing, where the past was never truly past, and the dead were as present as the living. By the time the book was published in 1967, Latin America was in the throes of political revolutions, military coups, and a literary boom that would bring its voices to the world stage. Márquez's novel, with its blend of the epic and the everyday, became a touchstone for a continent searching for its own narrative. Macondo, though fictional, felt achingly real, a place where history was not a straight line, but a whirlpool, pulling generations into the same currents of love, war, and forgetting. In the end, 100 Years of Solitude is the story of a writer mining his memories, his country's scars, and his grandmother's bedtime stories to answer a silent question. How do people survive when the conquerors write their history? The novel's reply: they tell their own story, again and again, until the wind carries it beyond oblivion. Key themes. First theme, the cyclical nature of history. The Buendía family's repetitions, names, romances, violent impulses, mirror Latin America's endless revolutions and dictatorships. José Arcadio Buendía's fear of a pigtailed child becomes inevitable destiny, just as the banana company's exploitation replays Spanish conquest. García Márquez's famous circular structure argues that solitude is the prison of those who cannot learn from the past. Second theme, the interpenetration of reality and myth. Flying carpets and prophetic manuscripts coexist with photography and railroads. This magical realism isn't escapism, but a specifically Caribbean epistemology. For characters, miracles are mundane, Father Nicanor levitates to impress parishioners, and technology seems magical, the magnet's sorcery. The style captures how Latin America experienced modernity, abrupt, superimposed, and never fully believed. Third theme, the solitude of power. From Colonel Aureliano Buendía's 32 failed revolutions to Fernanda's imperial delusions, power isolates. The novel's dictators, matriarchs, and beauties all end entombed in their fantasies. Ursula's blindness, Amaranta's virginity, Remedios the beauty's ascension. Only Melquiades' gypsy wisdom acknowledges life's carnivalesque nature. Fourth theme, memory as salvation and curse. Pilar Ternera's cards, the parchment's prophecies, and Ursula's centenarian witness all fight against Macondo's collective amnesia. Yet the final Aureliano's inability to decipher his fate until too late suggests that memory without action breeds doom, a direct challenge to Latin America's historical consciousness. As a conclusion, 100 Years of Solitude is both family saga and continental allegory, where every fantastical element encodes historical trauma. The novel's apocalyptic ending, with the last Buendia deciphering Melquiades' prophecy as winds erase Macondo, captures Garcia Marquez's warning that societies condemned to repeat their tragedies deserve no second chances. Yet the very existence of this luminous chronicle, blending Caribbean orality with biblical scope, suggests that storytelling itself might break the cycle if we listen.